Go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Elite Racing Truck Series, otherwise known as the Elite Old Testament Firearms Truck Series. Here tonight, it is going to be a lot of slipping and sliding here at Atlanta. 114 laps are going to be ran here in the Truck Series. Currently, we've got 34 drivers getting ready and set for qualifying. But before we get there, we got 7 minutes of practice. It's exciting. We're going to see how these drivers are going to be reacting here tonight, and I am excited for this racing. My name is Sam Dyer, and really excited to see how this race is going to go down. But for us to get all the action fully done, we got James East here with me as well. James, we've been watching practice. It's been hectic. It's been crazy. Drivers pushing it to the limits, and seems like having some fun out there as well.
Yeah, I agree, Sam. It's gonna be interesting. This track is known for its wear and tear on tires, especially with the painted down extra grooves supposedly done at the top. Hopefully, iRacing simulates that well, and the guys will be able to bring it home today with clean trucks. Last week we saw the finish separated by 0.069 seconds as fuel came into play as well. So hopefully we can see some more good racing from front to back as well this evening as well.
It is a lot of fun. Today's race is the Tulsa 175 here at Atlanta. And Tulsa, if you need any help getting your human resources in check, organized, prepared for the future, and have a great foundation for your business, look up Tulsa online. They've got all the great actions on how to set you up to have the best human resources set up for your business. And also want to give big thanks to all of our other great sponsors of C2 Freight Resources. If you need things to be moved in any way, they are the ones to get. Things large, small, if it's a crate, if it's a freight, they've got you, and it is such the best way to do it. They've also got electronic ways of checking and following all your packages while they're being moved, and as well, the best floristries around. You got Richmore Florists for being the best sponsors out there. If you are in need of flowers in a pickle, they've got you. They will hit you up, message them. They're probably the best floristries in business that have just gotten into racing. They've been in racing for a long time. They continue to be one of the best racing sponsors out there. And to all of our other sponsors, as well as Old Testament Firearms, if you need great firearms with great attachments, and also for great people that are going to help you with what you need, go to Old Testament Firearms. James, 114 laps. It's going to be a long one. The stage is extremely quick here, as it's going to be, I believe, 25, 25, 64. That is the way that they've set up the stages. So it is going to be a mad dash for both of these early stages before we get into our long green flag run to finish out the race.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be a lot cleaner than what we saw at last week on the short track. So with a little bit of luck, these drivers are coming off those two back-to-backs, first Bristol, then Darlington last week. So maybe it's a chance tonight for everybody to stretch their legs a little bit, get back in the groove, and try and focus on hitting their marks and working as teams out here instead of the crash fest we've seen the last couple weeks.
Yeah, Crash Fest is the best way to talk about how the last couple of weeks have been. But excited to see how this week's going to go. Looking at practice times, same guys up front on top of the board that was on top of the board last week, which is incredible to see. Matthew Weeks in the 14, looking to try to have a great day tonight, but a driver that we have not seen in the past 2 weeks and was dominating the first part of this season. That is going to be Ryan Lutz. That 36 truck is back, and we'll see if he can come back and get a victory.
Yeah, it's good to see all the teams showing back up in force again for tonight. I think some people are more apt to come out and play, not they're worried about spending their entire budgets on crash repairs. The only bad part is, I think tonight, when we have crashes tonight, because, oh God, we know we're going to, boy, are they going to be much, much more spectacular than what we've seen in the short tracks.
Yeah, like higher speeds and a lot more to hang on to. And, you know, Atlanta has the nickname Hot Atlanta. It's because it gets hot, it is slick. And these tires are going to get worn down. It's almost like a cheese grater in a way with the way that these drivers are going to be practically drifting around the corners. Here during practice, the track temp scorching. Outside ambient temp is 78 Fahrenheit, and then track temp 105 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's hot, it is slick, and these drivers during practice are really getting a taste of what it's going to be like during the actual race.
I'm thinking during these longer runs, if we can get good runs, especially under every yellow, I think you're going to see more and more drivers taking four every chance they get. Again, it's track position is going to be a little bit less important on these long runs, so much as having fresh tires and be able to say those multiple tenths you'd get from shag tires. I think tonight you can expect to see guys start falling off around 20, 25 laps in as tire wear comes into play. And by lap 40 or 50, you'll see the trucks tighten up just an absolute ton going around this Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for these drivers, there is no limit on tires. You've got unlimited in pit road. So if you feel like after running about 5 to 10 laps, you need to come in, get fresh rubber, go for it. These drivers, during qualifying, we're expecting to see all of them full throttling it and kind of doing a seesaw and sawing down their wheel in a way to keep their car straight through the corners. And you're able to stay full throttle for maybe about 3 to 4 laps before you really need to back off your throttle just so your car can turn properly. So expecting these drivers to really, test. That's why they're testing the limits here during practice, where they can really march and get that speed. And it is exciting. We've got almost less than a minute and a half to go left here in practice. Then we got ourselves qualifying, which is going to be solo qualifying. Drivers are going to go out on track all at the same time, but the track is going to be all on their own. And they've got 2 laps to put down their best lap time to see who will get the pole position. And some drivers are going to be feeling confident to qualify up front. Others, they're going to be thinking about setting themselves back. A driver that's been doing a great job getting poles this season, that's RC Enerson. He's been away for the last couple of weeks, same as Ryan Lutz, and he's back currently 5th on the board.
I'm also very curious to see tonight, Sam, what the pit strategy is going to be for a lot of these drivers. Everybody's on the same setup, so I'm curious to see if some guys are going to go for 3 stops. So if maybe some people are going to try and overcut and stay as long as they can, or if it's going to be a caution-filled bonanza, if we're going to be seeing the pack take 4 tires every time together until we get to those last 30 or so laps where the strategy is going to come more into play as people are thinking, all right, now I've got a chance to put this thing on the box. Do I stay out or do I pit?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of these drivers, Atlanta was one of the first tracks on officials for iRacing once they made the big update of messing with this tire surface. With this track surface, allowing a lot more, changing of lanes, figuring out what lanes are the faster ones. So, the drivers, they certainly do have a little bit of a feel on how this race could go for about, 40 laps or so. And from my experience, it is chaotic, especially with it being a 25 lap really stint for stage 1 and 2. The drivers are going to be unhinged here early on, and if you don't qualify well, you're going to have to march your way forward. Remember, it's only the top 10 that get stage points, so expecting a lot of chaos here early on in stage 1 and 2.
Totally agree, especially with these loose setups before the tires really come in on this track. Like you said, they'll be wide open for 3 or 4. They'll be sawing the wheel back and forth as much as they can, but it's going to be interesting to see how those tires stay under them.
Extremely interesting and excited to see how things are going to go. Qualifying is now getting underway. 5 minutes for drivers to put down the best times that they can, and excited to see how this race is going to go down and who's going to be taking the top spot, as this is going to be a fun one. James, got to watch last week, like you said, short track racing at Bristol, and now, we got to see a little bit of short track racing at Darlington, and now those drivers were attacking those corners here at Atlanta. They've got bumps that they have to deal with slightly, but that's going to be one of the biggest things. Also, the cheese grater of a track. This is one of the oldest surfaces in NASCAR. So here tonight, it seems like track position would be so important.
Totally agreed. Again, like we were saying, you've got about 3 or 4 laps of just good, hard racing. After that, you can see people starting to fall in a groove and working on their strategies. So I think if the guys are going to push it hopefully hard for the good first few laps, then take it easy and start picking off people 1s and 2s when they get the opportunity. But what they don't want to do is qualify 10th or back and then try and sit on the first lap, because it's just going to get really ugly really quickly.
Yeah, everyone's going to be hoping that they can keep themselves in good positions as qualifying is getting underway. Got the 6th there on screen. That's Gerald Campbell. Campbell hasn't been racing in the Truck Series in a bit, but expecting to see the 6th have a good run. As I say that, dumps it into the outside wall. And luckily, that was only lap number 2. First lap, still best on the board with a 31.537. Right now, it's holding up. Tate Lytle going to be in 2nd place, but still a lot of hungry drivers that were expecting to put some quick times down.
Yeah, taking a look at the number 97 truck, the race verse back truck of Alexander Van Sant. He's currently 4th on the board with a 31.813 as his last and his best. So He looks like he's got the pace. I'm willing to predict here and take not a very big gamble, but I think it's going to be a couple tenths to separate these top 5 drivers.
Yeah, we're just like that. It's all going to change with one. Bill Swoop. Van de Sant going to be able to move up to third place. You got Sweeting who's up in second, and World's going to be up in first place, switching things up. But Chuck Sweeting says otherwise. That's 75. That last lap, his second lap, which usually is the fastest, he's able to best with a 31.362, topping the board, but still a lot of drivers we wait on. Watching other drivers that we're trying to see who's going to be on top of the board. Hank Steinmiller in the 63 truck. He's going to be now starting up his way. And Hank Steinmiller, one of those drivers that looked quick during practice, but during practice, you had the draft to work with, driving with other drivers. So it kind of modified how your time was going to be set here today during qualifying. It's all about you, how you're setting yourself up. And it looks like Hank Steinmiller, he's going to be rocking that outside here on the first lap. And that's a way to really build up speed. It takes a while for these trucks to get fully optimized. And so utilizing the first lap, trying to get as much speed into the 63, you really hit the mark for this final attempt. As there he comes, that's lap number 1. We'll see what Hank Steinmiller has for lap 2.
Especially when you don't have a draft partner to work with just in these solo qualifying sessions. You're going to see guys running that 3rd or 4th lane as high as they comfortably can be without worrying about getting tails tapping the wall, because as we all know, if there's any incident points at all here in iRacing qualifying, that lap is null and void. So you're going to run as high as they possibly can for their first 2 laps. Ideally, you'll see them start dropping a little bit lower. Not quite at the very bottom of the apron here as we see 63 getting way down low, but not all the way down. And they're going to saw the wheel all the way through, try and carry as much speed as they can while making the track as small as they can, and that's going to be their qualifying. And it looks like it worked out pretty well for our friend.
Yeah, Hank Steinmiller able to get up to 5th place on the board. That was a great run for himself. Still about 45 seconds left in qualifying. So for some of these drivers that have only put 1 lap down, they've got time for a second lap. And for others, they've got time to put maybe 1 lap down at best. Driver that's starting up his second time, that's going to be Chad Frankenfield in the 15. Chad has been, he's kind of been needing a good run. Missed out last week, and this 15 truck, known for being quick, and I'm excited to see what Chad's going to be having here during this race, and if he even has a way to really change his, really where he's been running, just because playoffs, they're right around the corner. I mean, we're only about 2 races, counting this one, 2 races away. Chad Frankenfield up to 3rd on the board.
Yeah, with over 30 drivers tonight, these guys are going to want to get up front as soon as they can, and at least get the stage points when they're able to. Well, you definitely do not want to be in that 15th marker back trying to battle for stage points, especially if you're not in it to win it already. For those that already have wins, stage wins, stuff like that, they've accumulated the points and the wins that they need to. They have a little bit of breathing room tonight. They don't have to push it as hard and worry as hard. But let's take it to the grid, my friend.
Our grid, surprised a little bit, but not too surprised. Top of the board, it's going to be Ryan Lutz with Chuck Sweeting in 2nd place. Chad Frankenfield with a great run for himself, with Chris Worley going to be right next to his side on the top side. Alexander Van de Sant going to be in 5th, as well as Hank Steinmiller in 6th. Jeff Green able to crack the top 10 with Andrew Rucker, and then you got Gerald Campbell and Blake Barney, your top 10. The rest of the field we're going to be seeing in. I just want to point out some of the drivers that are running up here in the top 20. Tate Lytle, that is going to be a driver in my eyes, going to be starting in 12th place. He's always known for getting up into the top 5 at some point during a run. R.C. Anderson did not have the qualifying run he wanted, back in 20th place. Could have been some issues of scraping the wall, getting a little bit sideways for some drivers, and some of the other drivers that did not put down times that I'm expecting to have good runs moving forward. Matthew Weeks didn't put a time down. We saw him top of the board during practice. And then also Cooper Johnson. Both those drivers going to be starting in 32nd and 33rd place. As we look at the rest of the board and where drivers are at, I mean, James, drivers, this is going to be a lot of work for them.
Yeah, it's a very mixed field. We see a lot of fast guys in the middle. I mean, everybody's pretty fast, pretty clean here, but it's surprising to see in the shakeup we got compared to last week at Darlington to this week at Atlanta. It's I don't know if it's people fitting their different driving styles a little bit better. The short track guys are not having as much fun on the wide open circuit, or if people have done a little bit of testing over the week and say, all right, this is what we're working with, and we're aiming for a long run. We're not worried so much about those 3/10 in qualifying. as long as we can maintain a faster speed throughout the race.
Yeah, I mean, one of the drivers that, I was surprised not to see right now on our board, that's going to be Scott Crump, last week's winner at Darlington. He is not here, even though he's had a lot of good qualifying runs. And overall, yes, he's had some bad luck here or there, but surprised not to see that driver running here tonight. But just means we're going to have another driver come in and possibly start a new streak of winning.
And that is probably the best thing about the Elite Racing League is it's always a mix-up. Everybody runs really good. Everybody runs as clean as they can. It's always good racing front to back. So the guys running 31st, 32nd are still going to have just as good a battle as the guys in the top 3 as well. So, I mean, across the board, you can see some really good racing tonight. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it has got to be a lot of work on our parts to figure out where the best action is, but we know that everyone's going to be trying to battle to be up front in a win today. For the Tulsum 175, it's going to be a lot of work. Only 114 laps. These stages are going to click away pretty quick if we stay green, but that's the key. If we stay green, these first about 3 laps are going to be testing the driver's skills on those that are going to be up front. They're going to be full throttle, expecting to be a lot of aggressive moves, which also could cause some drivers on exit getting loose and out of shape. So we'll keep our eyes out on that. But up front, it's Ryan Lutz and Chuck Sweeting. They're going to be leading your front row. Excited for more Old Testament Firearms Truck Series racing here on the Elite Racing Network. It's Sam Dyer and James East. We're ready for some racing action. We're green here for the Tulsum 175. Early on, staying green, Ryan Lutz, he's clear and he is pulling away. Side-by-side action for second place. There is a driver that is going to start on pit road. That's going to be Chris Worrell, who's going to be starting only back in 37 on pit lane, hoping for an early caution, but because of how quick stage 1's going to be, he should be able to stay on the lead lap. But Ryan Lutz, he gets squirrely, and here comes Chad Frankenfield on the outside.
These guys are riding absolute ragged edge of traction right here. All it takes is just a little, I mean, a percent too much throttle on exit with not the right amount of counter here. Lights that rear end up. Lutz drops back 3 spots already off the start, but manages to save the truck.
I mean, these guys are really just pushing it to the highest degree at the moment. Looking at some of the drivers that are trying to run on a different line than everyone else. It's going to be Blake Barney all the way up on the high side near the wall in 6th place. He's trying to make a charge, but Chad Frankenfield as well as Sweeting and Steinmiller, these 3, they're trying to pull away and make a charge. Ryan Lutz, though, after that, a little bit of a scare, decided to just hold on to 4th place and decided to go back to 5th.
Plenty of laps here, even for the short stage, so he's been able to play it safe. So, all right, cool, I'm going to tuck in behind these guys, see what they're doing, see how the lines develop, and then, 5, 7 to go, then start worrying about making a push.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the drivers are getting in line in the back half of the field, where we're seeing kind of that jumble of drivers. Got to be around 8th on back. They're almost 3 wide. They are 3 wide back for 9th place, and there goes Jeff Green getting spun around, and there's our first caution of the day. Everyone's trying to scatter away, but the 38 truck is just stuck in the middle. Yeah, it's going to see Austin Beer and that 19 on the inside. They're going to be pitted.
Oh, 38, just nowhere to go, 3 or 4 wide.
That's just too many cars. That's part of the course where it starts to funnel in, and just if you're 3 too wide, it gets very chaotic. And yes, there were drivers dropping back, those going forward. It just did not work out. As we are now on the live screen, now is the question. We got to run about 4 laps green there, 4 or 5 laps. So it's now giving the drivers options. At this point, sometimes drivers are now into the backing off phase of not trying to use their tires too much. And with unlimited tires, we could be seeing about drivers, I'm expecting from 15th on back, possibly coming into pit road just to get fresh tires, give yourself a little bit of advantage for a chance to get inside the top 10. Our front 2 stay out, everyone else following suit.
Yeah, it looks like the entire field decided to come in. So I guess these guys, even though we've only got 4 laps on the tires here, everybody's coming in. I would have thought at least a couple of the guys would stand a little while, but I guess they're counting for more green flag runs. And my limited experience running here in one of the team's cars that let me hop in, I was happiest around lap 5 or 7 when the tires started to tighten up a little bit, and I felt a little bit safer, albeit a little bit slower, about the rear end lighting up on me. But these guys are the best of the best, so they're comfortable with that loose setup and holding it wide and dealing with the slippage. So I guess tires is the way to go for them.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be having a total of 8 drivers staying out on the older tires, and then from 9th on back, all taking 4 tires. A little bit of damage repair for Tate Lytle, who was involved in that incident with Jeff Green. Jeff Green also getting damage repaired for himself. And then you also got Jared Don as well as Austin Beer, all getting more damage repaired for themselves, but still everyone's running. That's a big plus. But
Yeah.
now with our front 8 staying out on old tires, yes, it's only 5 lap older tires, but like you said, you feel more comfortable but a little bit slower.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that's going to work out. Again, 4 or 5 laps under the tires, under race temps. I'm wondering if these top 8 guys that decide to stay out might actually get a little bit of a gap because they can just hold it more wide than the guys behind them, not worried about crashing. But definitely, if the run continues, it's going to hurt them bad, as their cars tighten up so much. They have to back up those throttle markers just a little bit further every time. And those fast guys that were in the top 10 should be catching them up. I think around lap 20, 25 if we stay green.
In around lap 2025, that's when we will have our stage 1 caution. So if it works out, it's the best play possibly to be staying out for that track position. But we saw Andrew Lutz get out of shape up front as our leader, and that wasn't the only driver. There were plenty of others throughout the field. This is a 37 car field that we're dealing with here tonight, so wouldn't be surprised that we had at least 4 or 5 drivers get sideways, but able to hold on out of that first corner. And we're expecting pretty similar results here of drivers getting a little bit too antsy, getting a little bit sideways, while still holding on as we're getting ready to go green here at the start of lap 8. Pace car is off and we are green once again. It's going to be Chuck Sweeting, Chad Frankenfield leading the group, but Frankenfield's got a lot of company as he's got Barney as well as Van de Sand.
Yeah, see him trying to make it 3 wide already as 97 goes low. Like Barney goes high, so really make that mile work. See if he can pick up some guys behind them, might help him out in the draft, but I think right now everybody's going to spend these first couple of laps just getting the tires back underneath them and then worry about the car.
Yeah, no, Barney has been the one driver that I've been noticing willing to go up to the wall. So if anything, he's trying to put some rubber down. I mean, you got to do it as quick as possible. 114 laps are going to go away very quickly as we're getting closer and closer to the halfway marker of stage 1. It's going to be a lot of work for these drivers if they're not able to make the turn forward with Chad Frankenfield on the inside. He'll get the run, but yellow in the back. Huge pile up through 1 and 2.
See if we can catch that one on the replay.
Oh, man. It looks like it started on the entry of the corner. Once again, funneling, but this time on the exit of the travel. It's going to be Dylan Thomas who's going to be leading that charge of drivers, and just a lot of drivers getting anxious and getting collected with one another. Also getting word that they're going to be deeming that an issue with the 16 driver, which that would be, I'm trying to see who that would be. I believe that's Jordan Owens, our colleague here in the Elite Racing Network, getting deemed with the EOL, so he'll be dropping all the way to the end. And our first DNF of the day, going to be Dylan Thomas, who was involved in that wreck.
Unfortunately, no replay on that bad boy. We did our best to cycle through and find it. Poor Jordan. Even the commenters curse. Even when you're not up here in the booth, it'll still get you.
Yeah, I mean, you're your commentator, so that means that it is following you no matter where you go. But yeah, no, but practically, even though our cameras didn't pick it up, it was practically the same exact incident that we saw on the entry of the tri-oval. Same thing happened on the exit of drivers just getting stacked up into one another, and just a lot of calamity following suit.
Yeah, it just takes one guy to break just a little bit of traction, and then you're 2-3 wide, and nothing you can do about it. Just carnage happens oh so quickly here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
There were two drivers that blew their engine. That was going to be Dylan Thomas as well as Brian Onson. He's going to be that other driver that blew his engine. And the biggest issue is that in this series, there are no fast repairs. So if you blow your engine, you are done for the day, most likely, just because of how quick we're expecting this race to go on by.
Yeah, I think this is going to play really favorably to the guys that did stay out on the older tires as well. They're only getting 1 or 2 laps, hard laps on them at a time, so if they keep this up, that track position may very well be worth it at the end of the stage.
Yeah, looking at some of the drivers so far that have stayed out, that have lost positions, that's going to be Michael Goodman, who was right on the edge, being the border car between the fresher and older tires, and being passed by Ryan Lutz and Hank Steinmiller. I think those are the two drivers that, if anything, Chad Frankenfield and Sweeting are nervous about. It would be that of Lutz and Steinmiller, and expecting them to make their charge forward, and also R.C. Enerson able to make some moves forward up to 10th position. Some of the drivers that have made some of the biggest moves so far. Michael Goodman, who's running in 9th place, cracked the top 10. He is up a total of 20 positions. Biggest mover so far. Biggest loser has to be probably the 07 or Jeff Green in the 38th. Started in 7th and all the way back to 21st position.
Luckily for those guys, though, even though short stages, they've got a long opportunity ahead of them to hopefully get back up front and salvage some points tonight. So if they can just survive, avoid any more big ones, they can come out all right.
You know, with how many cautions we saw last week, with what we've been seeing here tonight, might be a little bit of short track tempers could be flaring with some of the calamities that we've been seeing so far. But green flag in the air. Chad Frankenfield, great launch for himself, but Blake Barney on the inside, he is coming with that 0-0.
Barney absolutely handled it with every line he possibly can. Like you're saying, not afraid to get high, get low, whatever it takes to try and find a little bit of speed. And he is moving up today, currently running 2nd and right on that bumper of Frankenfield.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of have a split up of groups, right? We've got the top 9, they're all on top of one another. You have Lutz and Hank Steinmiller trying to make their moves forward, as well as R.C. Enerson. Then you drop back to 10th place. You've got drivers that are doing very similar things that brought out our first 2 cautions, all on top of one another, and 3 wide action around 16th place. Not really surprised by all of the drivers. They know that they're on the freshest of tires that they could possibly be on, so make the moves that you can. We do have 2 different waves. We've got the drivers that took, on that first caution, took tires. That's going to be about 25th forward. And then from about 27th back, that's when you got drivers that decided on this last caution that came out to take tires, but the battle for the lead, it's going to be Chad Frankenfield running in the middle lane. Barney got to get a little bit out of shape on the outside. Got to be careful not to scrape that outside wall.
Yeah, Barney checking out the pack line just a little bit.'s trying to make the high line work, but he's got no draft partners there with him. You can see just holding that outside line. It may be faster while you're in the draft, but when he's by himself, he's letting everybody else catch in while it looks like Chuck Sweeting takes the inside. So good tight racing. Just not sure if that high line is going to be the way to go as the run develops.
Vincent Isabella up to 3rd place. Going to be right now defending the 63. Barney into the wall. They're 3 wide. Barney stays high, and everyone's going to be passing him on the low side. That is the one major risk of running so high like he was. That outside wall is not your friend, and it becomes costly. Continues to drop back, now down to 13th place.
Oh, Barney, that could have been so much worse. Major props to his competitors around him. At one point, I believe they were even 4 wide trying to avoid that slow car of Barney the 0-0 as he was riding the wall the fancy way.
Yeah, major props. And with that little bit of a scuffle, it's now allowed our front 2 of Frankenfield and Sweeting to just pull away. And now it's going to be Vincent Isabella stuck in third place side by side with Ryan Lutz. Lutz with the fresher tires, but just slightly as we're past the halfway marker. Remember, it's at the end of lap 25. Once 10th place is crossed the line, that's when the yellow will fly for stage 1.
Yeah, Sweeting is absolutely all over Frankenfield right now. Not sure if he's trying to press it again or he's trying to push past here. Maybe tuck it into second, ride in the draft for a couple laps, but he's in it to win it. He wants those laps led on his resume at the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, you've got drivers that are going to be hunting for everything that they can get. And, you know, for some of them, they're trying to get as many points as possible. Sweeting's already in the middle of the field points-wise. Looks solid to be making it into the playoffs. And he's just wanting a win. Has not gotten a win so far this season. So Chuck Sweeting, someone that we're used to seeing on strategy-based races doing well. But right now, it's based off saving those tires and running fast. It's at 75, still side by side with 15.
He's doing one of those. I don't know if he's saving tires at this point, but he's moving down where he can. That inside line will definitely eat up tires just a little bit more than carrying the mid to high line. 15 of Frankenfield's been giving him any space, so he can be down there and hope that don't prematurely wear out his tires as this run develops. He's only got 6 to go till the station, so if he can stay down there and keep holding it wide, he should be all right.
The drivers that decided to take some tires leading that charge, that's going to be Ryan Lutz in third place, just caught up to Chad Frankenfield, and now Frankenfield's kind of a sitting duck as well as Sweeting, but Chad Frankenfield's going to be blocking aggressively, and that's going to be taking both those drivers, but they stay straight, and they continue to move forward. What an amazing save by both Lutz and Chad Frankenfield.
Absolutely spectacular. I would have bet anything that was about to be the big one when the lead pack goes 3 wide. Inside line just pushes a little bit, and it gets really hairy really quickly. Anderson takes advantage, moves up to second, while Chuck Sweeting is waiting to ride his strategy. He is checking out right now.
And now with that little bit of a slip up, it puts both Frankenfield and Lutz in precarious spots because Frankenfield, he's now got to worry about the drivers that are 3 wide behind him. He's got Isabella that just got by, and now the driver that's in a fabulous spot trying to utilize the draft as we're coming close to the end of stage 1. R.C. Enerson in second place. He's got fresh tires as well with Lutz, but Lutz with that little bit of a slip up, that's costly to those tires.
Slide through the tires, any aero damage will affect the long run, so all in all, not ideal, but again, just I'm blown away that they were able to maintain it through all that.
It doesn't make sense. They were 3 wide, should have collected all 3 of our leaders. Somehow Sweeting survived. It was Lutz and Frankenfield just drifting it. And at that point, most drivers on iRacing would have overcorrected. They would have sent it into the outside wall, but both of them utilized each other and were able to continue moving along. Just spectacular driving, and that's what you get from here in these elite drivers.
And these guys, they practice on short tracks, they practice on dirt, and all of that translates to these big cars once they get a little bit unhappy underneath you. So it makes them better racers all the way around. And again, big ups to those guys for the training they're doing in the off-season in between big races. It's paying off, and we all get to see it here.
Drivers that have been making some big moves. R.C. Enerson, he moved up to second place after being back in 20th at the start, as well as for Vincent Isabella, started back in 15th up to 4th. So some good moves for themselves, and for some of the other drivers that have been slowly making their ways forward. Other drivers in the top 10, Chad Thornquist in 7th place, trying to figure out how to go and where to go. Gonna go 3 wide on the inside.
Yeah, Steinmiller, the 63 got a little bit loose, and 64 had to check up to avoid hitting the rear door up, which was too hard. So 64 gets the better end of the needle. Andrew Rucker gets a couple of positions out of it, but again, these guys are riding the ragged edge here, so we're just 1 split second away of it being very exciting very quickly for a whole bunch of trucks.
They're on the edge, and I don't know if it's exciting or terrifying how close they are. Not really giving any space to anyone. Thornquist goes around, able to hold on. We stay green. But this is the white flag at stage 1, the top 10. You got to be there, and side by side, it's going to be for that 9th place position. But certainly our top 10 fully secured, as Chuck Sweeting going to be taking the victory here in stage 1.
I'd say for a broadcaster, it's absolutely spectacular, and for the drivers, it's absolutely terrifying. I've never seen so many spectacular drifts from truck drivers so far on iRacing.
Oh man, that is, it's a lot, that is for sure. We'll do a quick rundown of your top 10 That's going to be Chuck Sweeting, R.C. Anderson, Ryan Lutz, Vincent Isabella, Andrew Rucker, Hank Steinmiller are going to be in 6th place, with Gerald Campbell coming out of nowhere getting 7th, with Chad Frankenfield, Sean DiMantova, as well as Matthew Weeks, your top 10.
Several huge runs from these guys. Again, big ups to Vincent Isabella, came out of nowhere as well, currently sitting in 4th at the stage. And he was, I think he was 12th at one point last time I saw him on camera. So he managed to keep it clean, avoiding any of the drifting shenanigans that were going on back there, and bring home a bunch of points on that.
Yeah, I mean, 3 out of the 7 drivers in the top 10 were those that stayed out and were still on those older tires. So that's going to be the driver that won Stage 1, Chuck Sweeting, as well as Vincent Isabella and Chad Frankenfield, who had to make that amazing save with Ryan Lutz. And now we expect everyone to come in. The tires are needed, so now it's the question of how good is your pit team and how well can they get you back out on track.
Yeah, on board with Chuck Sweeting right now as he makes his way down pit lane to meet his crew, take 4 tires, take fuel, maybe take fuel. I'm not sure if he will at this one or not. I assume if he's taking 4, he's going to put fuel in as well, even if it's just a splash. And
yeah, I mean, let's get it in and hope
like
for the best.
Glove.
And one thing that, you know, some drivers are concerned about is missing their pit box. And that's what happened to the 92 with Chad Thornquist. Missed his box, has to come back in around. And after drifting and missing out on the top 10 for points, even more downfall, as now he's going to have to come back around into pit lane and start all the way back in 34th position.
Yeah, sometimes us as racers can be our own worst enemies in these things. You got to tell yourself or have your crew chief telling you the entire time, like, hey man, take a breath. It's a long race. Any compounding mistakes are just going to make this worse and worse and worse for us. So keep your head in it. So looks like everybody got through pit lane all right, except for the one poor guy. And they're going to get ready to re-rack him and go out for stage 2.
Stage 2 going to be on lap at the end of lap 50. The top 10. They get bonus points for playoffs as well as getting you points to try to get you into the playoffs. It's very important to have all the stage points as possible, and now we're setting people up. Looks like Ryan Lutz is going to be leading the charge of drivers coming out of pit lane, and the question is, where the heck did Chuck Sweeting go?
Chuck Sweeting looks like he had an abnormally long pit stop on that one. Not sure if he was sitting there for optional damages, or maybe had a screaming toddler next to him, or a dog incident, or what, but looks like he kind of fell asleep in the pit lane for a second. I'm very curious to see if he was taking optional repairs on that one.
Yeah, it's a very odd scenario to be seeing these drivers, and he just lost so much ground. I mean, went from leading this thing to where did he even drop back to? I don't even see him on my board.
I'm very confused here.
It's just, what happened, man? Like, Chuck Sweeting right now, all the way back in 33rd position, and it looks like, yes, there was some damage for the 75, or he just decided, I'm going to go to the back of the pack. It's very odd. I don't know what happened, but being this far back in the middle of traffic, we've already seen up front drivers getting loose and loosey-goosey out of the corner. Now you got to deal with all the drivers in front of you that could be having issues.
Yeah, not sure that's where I don't want to be either. I mean, your hands tighten up so much when you're 2 wide. I can't imagine being 3 wide going through, position 20 trying to get your marks back. You know you have the speed, but you have to worry and trust everybody next to you is going to keep it clean as well. So that's going to be a rough comeback story if he can make it happen. Chuck Sweeting currently, again, 33rd.
It's going to be a long trek for that 75 machine. Luckily, he got the stage point, so bonus points will be added, and wherever he finishes, it's going to be like he was 10 positions above wherever he finishes. And currently, middle of the pack, 5th in points coming into this race, so wasn't terribly off by points. It's an odd thing to see here this early on. Stage 1 is over. Stage 2 about to get started in the Tulsum 175. Tulsum, once again, they are fabulous at setting you up for any foundational setting for a business in the HR department, otherwise known as human resources. They're the people that really make sure that the business moves smoothly and everyone's being treated properly. And it's great to have the foundation set up for you to make sure your business is in the best environment, to make sure that everyone's working at their hardest and at the safest. So go look up Tulsum if you want to have the best HR department set up for you. Tulsum, thank you so much for sponsoring last week and this week. Can't wait to see who's going to be winning out this race, as we still got a lot of racing to go. It's under 100 laps, and green flag in the air. Stage 2 is live.
Gonna be some big runs. Everybody's on fresh tires, got their mind back in it to win it. You got to remember, hey, we just came off a 25-lap run. We're starting to be a little bit loose before we came in from the pit. As we see, it looks like the 6th car of Gerald Campbell gets a little bit slideways, and he starts falling back on the inside.
Yeah, we're seeing our front two. That's going to be R.C. Enerson and Ryan Lutz. Lutz has been around our top 5 for most of the race, but he's had some precarious spots he's put himself in. It looks like one of the drivers had issues. Josh Hogs is going to be having issues back in 34th position. Got loose, had issues, but we stay green.
64 goes around. He saves it. Oh my God. 42 just gets right into the rear bump, and Vincent Isabel gets just a little bit into Andrew Rucker, 64. He takes the entire corner sideways at 130 miles an hour.
Yeah, started at 170, 160. It dropped down a little bit, then drifted around, and somehow you stay going straight at the end, and we stay green once again. These drivers just putting on a show, and that's what Atlanta gives us, is drivers feeling like they're dirt tracking on asphalt.
Now, I didn't hear the drivers tonight. Did they remind everybody we're not at Darwin?
I don't think so. I think they were told, hey, good luck, survive. It's going to be a difficult race. Still side-by-side racing for the lead, as R.C. Enerson got to be careful not to get up into the wall. We've already seen Blake Barney do that, brushing the wall, getting himself in trouble. Drivers that have done great rebounds, though, so far this race, that's going to be around 15th place. You've got Jeff Green, as well as Chad Thirdquist, as well as Chad Frankenfield 3 wide, and just clear is Chad Frankenfield. I'm just baffled at these drivers. Their spotters on point this evening on some of the calls and gutsy moves that we've been seeing here tonight.
Now, Sam, as someone who's in the loop with all the drivers, you've hung out with them a lot more than I have. How many guys are using real-life friend spotters in this series versus a crew chief or something built in?
You know, most of the drivers, when they're racing, they're actually using just, robotic plugins that you can put in as a robotic crew chief. So they're telling you what's going on and what's what. Chad Frankenfield's going to get extremely out of shape, somehow save it once again. But I would say maybe 10%, maybe 15% of the drivers out here are actually using real-life spotters of their friends coming in and helping them out. You might have some guys coming in and helping you be a crew chief on setting up your tires and making sure that you're set up properly, but most of the guys out here, they're racing. It's all on them to make the moves and trust what they're being told by a spotter that's, a plug-in that you can put in on your computer.
That's wild. Yeah, huge. I don't want to say advantage having no, it is. It's a pretty big advantage having a real life spotter helping you out, just because it gives these drivers that little extra feedback and lets you know, hey, this is what this guy's doing. Look out for him to do this in the next corner. So, and they're also a little bit quicker than the built-in spotters you can find in the service. So the fact that these guys are able to go 3 wide using the built-in mechanics, the game's screaming, you're 3 wide, and that's about it. It's very impressive they're able to stay side by side and keep it so clean during all this.
Yeah, and there's also some plugins that will actually give you a visual showing of how far ahead you are from a driver, or how, when you're side by side, how much of their car is actually next to you or not, and if you're clear. So it's crazy the different plugins that you can get, but I would say, yeah, having a real life person telling you what's going on and saying, hey, this driver's doing this, and how to adapt yourself during the race, so important to have. Right now, I got to give credit to our top 5. They're doing a great job staying close with one another. And Shane DiMantova, this is probably the best run I've seen the 20 have in a long time, and he is right on the back tail of our top 3.
Yeah, watch Shane. He's been pushing Vincent Isabella pretty aggressively, but pretty safely. So they're just like that. They've gained up 2 or 3 seconds in these last few laps, and they're suddenly in the mix of it. So watch right here, number 20 is getting just right into the bumper. 42, Vincent Isabella giving him that push, going, all right, let's go get him. It's our time to shine. We'll work together, try and get this lead back, and then once the stage is, we won't be friends anymore. But for now, let's make it happen.
Speaking of the stage, again, it's at the end of lap 50 after 10th place crosses the line. That's when the yellow will be coming out. And so it's a go time for these drivers as we're coming to 11 to go in this stage.
Yeah, really impressed with the teamwork we're seeing here against random drivers. Not random drivers, but people that don't normally have a team goal per se. So they want to both get up there in front, and they're willing to shake hands and make it happen. As they're just about ready to take it 3 wide for the lead.
I mean, it's crazy. You look at up front, you got the 4 cars battling for the lead, and then you go back just about 6 positions, back to around 15th place, and it is just a hornet's nest of drivers that are trying to go 3, almost 4 wide at times, trying to gain as many positions as possible to try to set themselves up to be in the top 10.
Yeah, Vincent Isabella moved up to second. Score might not show yet, but it's definitely in second place. He's his highest position of the day. He still has the 20 of Shane Demantova right behind him in the 20 car. So working together, trying to push it. It's a big bobble from the leader there.
Oh, a little bit of contact there from RC and Demantova. Didn't mean to make contact there with the 20, but hard racing, and they still keep it straight.
Yeah, it looks like Ryan Luntz had just a little bit of a wheel spin. I saw the smoke come up, and it looked like his back left. I think the guys might have checked up behind him. When you're riding bumper to bumper, you can't really see anything in front of you. You just got to kind of trust what's happening and hit your mark. So might have checked up and caused people to get a little scared there for a moment.
Vincent Isabella. This is one of the few times I've ever seen the 42 leading a race when it is at 1.5 miles, but it is great to see that 42 leading. He has done a great job saving those tires, setting himself up to be up front. That last lap ran out 0.3 faster than the rest of the field, and he continues to try to pull away.
Yeah, Vincent had a good run last week at Darlington, but fell victim to some of the crash fest shenanigans that happened on the short track. So good to see him back up there. Everything's been paying off for him. He's running really good tonight.
Ryan Luntz still going to be keeping it close. I talked about that cluster of cars around 15th place. They're still there. Jeff Green and Brody Moore, they have been on top of one another, rubbing off of each other's trucks, it seems like, for the past 5 laps. And Moore almost dumping it, coming out of 2.
Yeah, we're 2 by 2 again up front. Looks like Ryan Luntz is taking over the position for Vincent Isabella. Isabella's got, I believe it's Anderson right behind him. Nope, they're going back to 1 wide just for a second. Everybody's trying to figure out, all right, which guy do I want to push forward at the end of this thing?
Yeah, the back stretch, front stretch, whoever you're following, we're going to give them a slight little boost. But the question now is who's really got the tires left. And it looks like Ryan Luntz, after being passed by Isabella, just decided to wait out, give yourself a little bit of time. And honestly, here at Atlanta, all you have to do is just back off. Don't be as aggressive for about 3 laps, and then you can be pretty aggressive for another 2. You just got to be patient on where you want to place yourself. Also, it looks like Chad Frankenfield running up in the top 20, but got loose out of 2 and is bogged down, dropping back to 29th place.
Yep. Lead pack dealing with lap traffic with the number 9 truck to get around the lane. He holds the line great with a damaged truck. Looks like bad aero damage on the back right of that thing. So big ups to him as somebody gets real loose behind him. Oh, good God.
Gerald Campbell, somehow this 6 truck, once again, same spot that he was loose about 10 laps ago, still able to hold on. 5 laps to go here in stage number 2. It's a little bit shorter than stage 1 just because of all the pacing laps and caution laps after stage 1. So these drivers, they don't have to save their tires as much. They can get aggressive, but certainly you're concerned.
Yeah, sorry, I mean to step on. I say it is definitely time for these guys to go with the short stage. So you're gonna see them holding it wide here and just hoping the tires don't tighten up too much. You'll start seeing trucks push to the outside if they go in just a little bit too deep with that front right here with Chad. So they're gonna make it happen as much as they can. Nothing to save tires for at this point.
Looking at the times the drivers are putting down and where they are now. Watch out for 5th place. Well, I was about to say that until Matthew Weeks decided to make it side by side. Hank Steinmiller as well as Weeks, they were making a great charge to catch up to our front 4. But now that they're side by side, they got to be careful on not giving too much wear and tear and losing ground to the leaders.
Yeah, side by side, you're not going to gain a whole lot of time. You're both pushing dirty air. You're not really punching a hole for each other. It's tough to catch that pack that might be working with 4 or 5 trucks, single file. So you gotta tuck in behind your competitor and just say, all right, let's get there as quickly as I can.
Thornquist and others being involved. And at the timing of this caution, that could be the stage. Yeah, this is stage caution. This is it. They are calling it. So stage 2 comes to a close with Chad Thornquist going for a spill. And also with that incident, Chad Thornquist, after the woes that he's had all race long through stage 1 and stage 2, he has called it quits, being another DNF of the race.
Yeah, I hate to see that with these guys, but like we said in the pre-race show, a little bit less crashes tonight, but man, when they happen, they are much, much more violent.
Yeah, they are extremely aggressive right now, and oh boy. Well, currently what our top 10 would be, but we're going to wait and see. This is unofficial. The admins are going to go back and check for sure. But Vincent Isabella, Shane DiMantova, Ryan Lutz, R.C. Enerson, Matthew Weeks, Hank Steinmiller, Dustin Doerr, Tate Lytle, Christopher Smeltzer, as well as Ryan Barbary going to be your top 10.
Yeah, absolutely blown away with Vincent Isabella's performance tonight. Again, not good luck last week at Darlington, but today he's got the pace. He's up there at the end of every stage, so very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, for a driver that I've commentated over and I've seen him, he's usually at the end of the races when you start to see the 42 really stick up and be in the top 5. This early on, it's making me excited to see if this is the race Vincent Isabella is going to have a chance to win the race.
That's probably, again, the best part about this Elite Racing League is every week it can be something different. It's not just a few aliens out here just checking away from the pack to make it happen. It's always good, tight racing throughout the week.
So exciting to see. I mean, looking at, our previous race winners, first race of the season was won by Hank Steinmiller, and then we got to see at Auto Club back in February. It was Ryan Lutz. Ryan Lutz then won at North Wilkesboro for round number 3. Round 4 went to Alexander Van de Sant. Then we got to see Ryan Barbary win at the Dirt Bristol. And then last week, we got to see Scott Crump win at Darlington. So we've seen a good selection of drivers. Ryan Lutz, the only multi-time winner this season, with 2. Soon, with the way he's running, could be 3.
Yeah, again, last week, 0.069 seconds at the end of that race. All came down to fuel strategy.
Yeah, that was just silly to see. We were both calling it. It was over until they came out of 4, and you just saw Crump just completely come to a halt. It felt like, with how much he was not able to keep going, but everyone else was, and somehow we got to see that driver win the race last week.
Into stage 2, we've got about 63 laps to go. We're going to see, if there's no cautions, at least one green flag stop under this. Probably around lap 80 to 90. I'm curious to see what the strategy is going to be on this one.
Yeah, I would say 90, 95 could be seeing pit stops, but yeah, around 80 could be when people are thinking about short pitting. But it's going to be cool to see how the drivers are going to be adapting to this. Excited to see how the end of this race is going to go, but James got to see 2 stages, very quick, first 50 laps. What are your thoughts so far?
I'm blown away by the racing I've seen today. There's a lot of people up front that we haven't normally seen up front this early on in a race, and a lot of the fast guys that we're used to calling out in the top 5 are back there 10th, 15th, or further back. So everybody's shaking it up today, and for the most part, good, clean racing. A little bit of car control problems with how slick this Atlanta surface is, but not overly aggressive for the track conditions, I don't think.
Do want to give updates on drivers in the back that looks like their days are done. Andrew Rucker, who was running up in the top 15 at one moment, his day is done. He is parking it. Drivers that are also in pit road trying to get service done. Chad Frankenfield coming in late, trying to get himself topped off. Also, Chris Worrell is going to be another driver that is DNF'd today. Jeffrey Sickles, is going to be still in pit road, the same as the 93 of Josh Hoax, who's going to be in pit road. And Jordan Owens still trying to get repairs done on that 16. And those are all the drivers that are still in pit road trying to get service done. You saw the 9 extremely off pace. He was part of that first wreck of the evening and extremely underpowered, but doing the honorable thing staying out and trying to get as many positions as possible, even though his day is not the way he wanted it to go.
Yeah, points here. So let's see, Vincent Isabella did their best lap, 31.347 during this race. So absolutely flying compared to Shane DiMantova right behind him at a 31.320. So these guys are all within a few hundredths of each other.
Yeah, driver I'm surprised hasn't put on extremely quick times. It's got to be Matthew Weeks, currently in 6th place. Watch that 14 machine. He was starting to make a late push. Same with Hank Steinmiller. If this race goes longer, those are the two drivers I've got my eyes out. Green flag in the air. We're racing to the end. We're going to lap 114. If we could stay green, as this is going to be a fun one to watch. Vincent Isabella, Shane DiMantova, RC Enerson, Ryan Lutz, and also Hank Steinmiller, your top 5, as they're rocketing out of 2.
Yeah, Vincent trying to make that outside line work, trying to get a push from all of his buddies right behind him, but they're running deep. They were 2 by 6 at one point, running very, very deep. As the 99 cars of RC Anderson tries to make it 3 wide, and they do.
Oh boy, it's all there. Isabella very shaken. He was wiggling through that whole entire corner, and somehow RC Anderson trusted the 42, hugged that outside wall and made it stick. Now they're going to be slicing and dicing. Ryan Lutz going to be picking the middle lane, but he can really go anywhere he wants. Got to make sure, careful here in these first 3 laps. That back end wants to snap out of the corners.
And yeah, everybody's on fresh tires. It's going to be really close to snap loose from the exit here. So we've seen the 99 RC Anderson running that high line, a little bit more grip, I think, but a little bit more precarious. There's not any place for him to go and try and save it. It's just a straight wall.
Still watching all these drivers drive around. We got a total of 27 still on the lead lap. Driver all the way in the back, that's going to be Blake Barney, who we saw up in the top 5 at one moment. Tried to make a push for the lead, but then got into the outside wall. Not the day he wanted, but certainly he'll take a 27th place after the way that the day started off.
Yeah, poor Barney had the pace to be up there. Just took that one good hard hit on the right side of his truck, and that was it.
Stage 1 winner, Chuck Sweeting. He's up to 10th place. Finally, after being back in 33rd for the longest time. It took him all the way through stage 2, and here at the start of the end of this race, he's now cracked the top 10.
Taking on board with Shane DiMantova, the number 20 truck. You can see just how high up he's riding this Atlanta racetrack, trying to make it happen. Let's try and start working that low line a little bit as he chases down Ryan Lutz, and then we see RC Anderson, 99 truck, riding the high line as far as he can. He's got something worked out. Maybe he's trying to keep the draft off of his partners in crime here. They don't want to run that high line as much as he does. But looks like Shane and Ryan Lutz are starting to reel him in just a little bit, working in tandem.
Yeah, RC Anderson, he is staying to the high side, and that is where he is going to lay. Everyone else running the middle to low lane, and you know, through 1 and 2, it makes sense to run the middle lane. You're trying to stay away from those bumps. Through 3 and 4, you try to stay low, as low as possible to that white line. Carry as much speed as possible, but if you're on the high side, you should get that launch on the straightaways. That's what RC's just been utilizing to stay in front of everyone else.
Yeah, RC's making it happen. He's taking on board on his back right corner, back left corner panel. He's all by himself in that high line. Out of 20-something cars chasing him down, it is just him by his lonesome up there. That run just enough, though. Even those guys working, Ryan Lutz, Shane DiMantova, working in the draft, still not able to kind of suck him in like they want to as he runs that high line.
He's just doing such a great job for himself, but Ryan Lutz, he's finally got the momentum and where he wants to take RC. I think it's really the fact of figuring out that smoothness that you want to be putting yourself in. Don't want to be putting too much wheel into the corners. It's going to be scrubbing off time and running low, getting over those bumps cleanly. Here's the 36 right on the back bumper, less than a tenth. Thinking about possibly making a charge here going into turn 1 on the next lap.
Yeah, he's got the draft. They're running 2 totally different lines. And most importantly, he's got the draft support behind him.
Oh, lap cars are going to be an issue here. You're really going to be clogging everyone up. 2, 3 wide, trying to get by the lap machines, and that is not setting up these drivers in the way that they want to, because they got to duck and weave. Some lap cars staying low, others staying high.
Anderson getting off his preferred high line, so he had to switch it up, go low there for a second. Ryan Lutz absolutely glued to his rear bumper, stuck in the draft. We're going to see Lutz try and take more and more peaks to the inside while Anderson holds that high line clean. He's either going to keep pushing that line, maybe switch it up, and we'll see Lutz get the drive on.
Yeah, and people might be wondering, why are the lap cars running in those two spots? Why not just get off the course? Well, usually in the older, before iRacing made the update, you would run a lap car to stay high because the low line is where you want to be. But with the progressive banking and the way that they've modified with the surface for these trucks now, you can run whatever lane you want to run. And if you find the speed there, you try to put yourself there, and it kind of traps the lap cars on where to put themselves because there is no safe place except for the apron.
Everybody's out here running from points, so even if there's a race going on and you're not in it, you're still trying to salvage those points for the championships here.
Hank Steinmiller, Dustin Dorr. Dustin Dorr's another driver we haven't really seen that much up front. It's great to see these drivers that, the last couple of weeks, it's been rough for them, but they're finally having their shot for a chance at a win. Ryan Lutz, though, he's been the gatekeeper whenever he is on track to win the race. He is the man to beat. RC stuck on the high side, and it looks like the high line, it's lost all of its grip and speed.
Yeah, RC just, part of it's that, I think, and part of it he's got no draft partners to work with. So these guys, even if the low line's a little bit slower than his high line, he's running solo. He just doesn't have anybody to put him or be able to something with his draft to kind of make it work. The draft is king here in these trucks.
Matthew Weeks was a driver that was trying to run the similar line as RC, but kind of got blocked by Di Mantova and forcing the 14 now to go low, as it's about to be 3 wide for second place. Ryan Lutz, he's hoping it stays battling like this, so Steinmiller burns off those tires and doesn't have a chance to try to battle for the lead.
I'm really curious to see as well if RC's going to have better tire wear running that high line compared to the guys on the low line. Maybe if this one develops, we'll have a better chance of getting back up there, passing Ryan Lutz in the 36. So curious to see how all these driver strategies are going to pay off if this run continues.
Chuck Sweeting, we notified that he got into the top 10. He's now up to 7. About to touch the tail end of this lead pack, and then he'll start to try to make some moves back and forth. Also, Tate Lytle following suit. Tate Lytle, one of those drivers extremely quick last week, but got into the outside wall a little bit too much at Darlington and kind of ruined his car. Now is a chance in the top 10. Smeltzer as well as Jeff Green, they're making some great moves forward, especially Jeff Green, who was involved in our first wreck of the day.
This pack tonight really hasn't stretched out a whole lot between the top pack at all. These guys are all pushing together. At some points going 2-3 wide in the corners and right back to single file as they go back to the straightaway.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is for leaders, they're being aggressive. They are pushing. They're not in save mode. It is go, 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 which is going to burn off those tires so quickly. And once you equal out to those tires being burnt out, those drivers that have been saving, running those similar lap times, they can get a little bit aggressive and keep this tow and keep it close. Gene Dimantova going to get extremely out of shape, able to hold on, but going to be possibly losing and will lose that place in 6th position.
Right as he does that, RC Anderson pushes back up front past Ryan Lutz. He switches to the low line for the first time in 20 laps. Looks like he's going to be stuck there as Ryan Lutz is right on his right side. Let's see if they hold their line and do something different. Nope. Lutz goes back low. Anderson's still running that high line here.
It's one of those like short track incidences where you got so many drivers picking one lane, maybe you'll go the opposite because there's more space and you won't slow down as much, as a lot of the drivers are starting to move up to the middle to high lane, which is opening up the low side. Or we're starting to see Matthew Weeks make that charge and about to pass for second place. The lap traffic, they're squeezing him once again through the tri-oval.
Taking on board with Weeks right here. You can see just the different lines these guys are taking. We're on board with Weeks. He's running that low line following Ryan Lutz to his right. Just into frame there, we've got RC Anderson who keeps running that high line. This would be a good shot right here. You see Anderson holding high, but these guys are blowing up their marks just enough, rolling out, not all the way, about 75% throttle. Get back on it, and you see him sawing the wheel through there, trying to keep it sticky as much as he can.
As that's going on up front, Gerald Campbell, who this 6 has been having troubles. Seems like every single run we're on, he gets out of shape and once again completely loses the whole entire pack, drops back to 25th after running around 17th.
Yeah, having a very frustrating race today. It's been tough for him to keep that truck underneath.
I mean, it's just a little bit of over-aggressiveness, getting on the throttle too soon, and just putting a little bit too much wheel into your truck, which is costing you to go around. And you're noticing, like, for Gerald Campbell, he's usually one of those drivers that's running in the top 15 to top 5, top 10. So it's odd for him to be running this far back and having these major issues, but Atlanta, that's where these issues really growing into something bigger. Luckily, the track isn't as hot as it once was. It was in the hundreds. It's now down into the 90s. 95 degrees is the track temp. 77 is going to be your outside temp. So, the track is slowly cooling off. A little bit of shade coming in and out, which is allowing these drivers to get a little bit more grip. But that false sense of grip certainly has been hurting those in the back half.
Yeah, a cool mid-90 degree track is we call that a relaxing spring day here. Up 99, looks like he tags the wall. Anderson finally runs out of racetrack there as the truck started to tighten up on just a slight racetrack stripe going down the back of this truck. Looks like Chuck Sweeney's able to get around him.
A little bit of shades of Blake Barney from earlier, running high, and then got a little bit too high where it hurt himself.
It works really well until it doesn't, and when it doesn't, boy, does it get mad quick.
Yeah, I gotta say though, we've been watching this battle for second place. Ryan Lutz is almost a full second ahead of this group. He's now right on the edge of where the draft is going to be helping these drivers, but something else we haven't really touched on, and that's dirty air. That's something that the drivers also are dealing with slightly, with the fact of, dirty air. If you're following someone else into these corners with the draft, it really is pushing you and making you tighter, which causes you to use more wheel and wearing down your tires a lot more. It could be a factor that we're starting to see from our front six on why they're losing Ryan Lutz.
Something that was always taught in our motorcycle racing school, it takes 5 mile-an-hour speed difference going into a corner that you didn't expect to trigger your brain to go into oh god, oh god, oh god mode. So some of these guys that are riding tip to tail through the thing and they come into the draft, and suddenly they realize, I'm going into this corner a little bit faster. That's where you'll see a little bit of overcorrection as their brains go, whoa, we didn't plan on coming in here just that fast. So that can get a little bit exciting for the guys too.
Yeah, that's the experience that you have of driving motorcycles and having that experience. And you've touched a little bit of iRacing. How much of iRacing, of having an extra little bit of speed, does that really affect these drivers?
It's I don't think it's as mentally taxing as it would be in a real life scenario, but it's a mechanical thing. So you're hitting the same bars for 140 laps, or excuse me, 114 for here, but you find yourself going, wait a second, that wheel input's not quite the same as it did the last lap. What's different? And you realize, oh, that was 20 miles an hour faster. That's the difference.
A huge mistake for Tyler Dixon, running around 15th place. The 54 machine has spun out coming out of 2. No yellow, but completely demolished that truck.
Yeah, a little surprised no yellow on that one, but I guess he got off the racing surface and they were able to get the EMTs to him fine, so I guess we're going to keep it green for now.
Yeah, that's the one thing with iRacing cautions, is you really never know when the yellow is going to come out. Our front really all staying in line. Side-by-side action, around 10th place, and that's where a driver I talked about who might be someone to watch out for. Cooper Johnson did not put down a qualifying lap, started back in 33rd position, trying to crack into the top 10.
Yeah, Cooper in that beautiful number 74 juice box truck, one of the nicest looking paint schemes we've seen out here today. Yeah, currently running 12th. He's got plenty of people to draft with, so we should possibly expect to see him in the top 10 if he can keep this drive up.
And right now, looking at the pace that they're putting down, the driver that's leading this charge, I believe, is Smeltzer. Smeltzer running about a 10th slower than our leaders, so it's going to take a lot of work, but I think might have a chance to try to catch up to at least maybe Dustin Dewar or Tate Lytle. They're running a little bit slower, also dealing with lap traffic. See how well they can charge through, but James, we're catching up, and we're about 3 laps away from that window you threw out. Around 80 to 90 laps is when those you threw out for possible pit stops to happen. And looking at where drivers are at and the fuel window where they're at, I think that's exactly where I would start to see some of those drivers beginning the pit cycle here in the next 3 laps or so.
Yeah, Matthew Weeks, Chuck Sweeting, and Hank Steinman, I think they're going to be the 3 trucks we want to keep an eye on to see when they open up their pit windows. Ryan Lutz running by himself, a full second ahead of Matthew Weeks running second, so I think he's going to be kind of at the mercy of his competitors behind him unless they they want to link up and try and get their pits going at the same time so they can track each other. So there's a good chance for that second or fifth place pack to kind of come in one lap earlier than Lutz and try and gain some track positions.
Yeah, looking at the times that are being placed, they're about, I don't know, a second and a half, almost 2 seconds is the difference currently from what they're running now to their best lap time. So expecting to see drivers coming into pit road here shortly. The drivers that have come into pit road so far, they've all come in because of damage of some sort, leaving us with a total of, I believe, 25 drivers on the lead lap. So still a lot of drivers on the lead lap, but a lot of drivers have been already taken out of this race after hard contact and not being able to save their trucks after getting loose out of the corners.
Yeah, looking at Ryan Lutz's last lap time of 32.3978 compared to Weeks and Chuck that are running 33 flats. He's got the pace comparatively on these old shag tires, so he's going to stay out as long as he can until that pack behind him eventually says, all right, enough of it is enough. This gap's getting too big. We're not doing anything here. Come and get fresh tires, get fuel, and then run this thing to the end.
Yeah, one of those drivers that was running up front for a bit there, but dropped back after getting a little bit loose here or there and costing him time. Shane DiMantova, he was running up in second place at times, battling for first. He's back to 14th. Really one of those drivers wasn't expecting to drop back as far as he did. Also, Alexander Van de Sande, he's dropped back to 15th. Chad Frankfield in 16th. So the middle of the field really clogged up with drivers that were up front and were trying to challenge Lutz and Sweeting, but now are stuck further back after it looks like some mistakes of getting loose.
Yeah, and speaking of getting loose, looks like Ryan Lutz a couple laps ago, he had a big smoke show, didn't catch it on camera as he's ahead of Weeks. He's dropped down to a little over half a second ahead of that pack, so he's got something going on where he decided to light up those tires going to the corner. Not sure if he came in too hot, the front started pushing, and it looks like we got Chuck Sweeting starting his pit cycle.
Chuck Sweeting's coming in. Also looks like Austin Beard, who's running around 13th. He's coming in. Dustin Doors coming in as well. So pit cycle, around lap 83. It is begun. We'll see how far some of these drivers decide to push it because, you know, some machines, some teams might be thinking, hey, maybe I'll just take a one can and no tires, try to save time and get back out there as quick as possible. While others are going to be thinking about 2 tire strategies, 4 tire strategies. This is when you trust your team and also trust yourself on what judgment call on what type of strategy to make here late.
Yeah, very curious to see what some of these teams are going to do. I'm trying to think if I was top 5 of some of these cars, I'd probably do a 2-tire stop and a little bit of fuel to get through the end if you had to. And then if you get a caution later on the run, then you can start thinking about, all right, let's get more tires, let's get a full-blown race pace going on here. But Ryan Lutz still out here running 33.183, so he is almost 2 full seconds off of his best time today.
Michael Goodman, Cooper Johnson, they're also leading into pit row. Chuck Sweeting has come in, so leaving us with 17 drivers still to come into pit lane. Now it's also the question of if you stay out as long as possible, kind of banking on a caution to come out. You're going to be losing so much time that if you lose too much time, you might not have enough laps to get that time back, even if you pit with the fresher tires.
Yeah, Lutz here, not even able to put a full lap on some of the tires who took their pit cycle already. It'd only take them, even their full lap downs would take them about 16 laps at this pace to reel in Lutz. So curious to see what the strategy is going to develop for all these guys. Ryan Lutz and Matthew Weeks decide to stay out in that lead pack.
Some of the drivers that are right on top of one another. And we've got the battle that's going on for 3rd place, as well as a battle that's going on for 6th. But a lot of the drivers, it looks like Michael Goodman might have had issues, had to come back into pit road for the 2nd time, it looks like, for the 44.
Curious for me to see as well. Looks like RC Henderson, he's starting to run that high line again with fresh tires underneath him. So he's happy where he's at again, trying to reel in the 63 Steinmiller. While the number 9 lap car still holding the inside. He's got aero damage as well as Barnes in front of them running the 00.
Down to 16 drivers still waiting to pit. Barney's still one of those drivers. First car 1 lap down, so hoping for a caution to come out so then he can be the lucky dog. Chuck Sweeting coming with a head of steam though.
Anderson coming in for his pit cycle on this one. still very surprised Ryan Lutz is still out going for the overcut on this one.
I mean, once you're the leader, right? You knew he was one of the fastest cars out here. Just thinking, push it as far as I can. If a caution comes out, that's great. If it doesn't, then I'll have the freshest tires. But like you said, I'm concerned about the amount of time that these drivers will have left. Just because, 114 laps is kind of deceiving. We're used to seeing drivers run about 130 to 150 laps at these mile-and-a-half courses, and it gives you plenty of options on staying out a little bit longer because you have time to catch up to the drivers. You're only going to have maybe about 20-25 laps to try to run down the drivers in front of you that are going to have those fresher tires. It's going to be tough. Alec Balvant's going to be coming into the pits for the 5. He was in 14th place, so not going to be losing too much ground.
Yeah,
but Sweeting is now up to 14th.
Well, yeah, looking at live timing here, Lutz still has over a half-second gap on Matthew Weeks, who's on the same set of tires as him, running second. Behind him, they've got Hank Steinmiller 3 seconds back. Fourth and fifth, 7 to 7.5 seconds back. So this strategy might work out for them. They're just really, really hoping for a caution at this point, I think.
And leaders just came over the radio, coming into the pits, expecting a lot of drivers coming in this time by of our front pack. This is our front two, both Lutz and Weeks.
Ooh, Weeks tries to go for the pit road pass.
Some drivers have that aggression. And oh no! Ryan Barbary going to be spinning it on entry, nosing it right into pit road wall. And he was running right in 6th place when that happened, and dropping back to 12th, and he's going to have major nose damage. He's got to get repaired. And we still got 5 drivers that still have not pitted. Jeff Green leading that charge.
Yeah, currently watching, looks like our previous leader, 36, looks like he took 4 tires, about a 13-second pit stop. So it looks like he took 4 tires, and just enough fuel to bring it home to the end here.
And it looks like Sweeting did the same strategy. So right now, 75 going to be up to 7th place, and really it's look to see what is the gap between the 75 of Chuck Sweeting and Ryan Lutz. And that gap, about 11 seconds. That is a major gap between Lutz, who is winning and leading this race before that pit cycle, to where Sweeting's at now.
Yeah, 2 seconds a lap. That does not leave him a whole lot of time. He's running his personal best to try and get back up there. So curious to see if that's going to be a winning strategy or if he might have shot himself in the foot there. But either way, he had to come in eventually. So what do you do?
It's going to be so difficult because it's only going to be about 3/10 each lap. We've got about 20 laps to go here, so it's going to be a close push, but I think it might come up a little bit short here for Ryan Lutz, but he certainly is going to put his best effort out there. It's over 11 seconds. Chuck Sweeting has now moved himself up to 6th place. Dustin Dorr going to be about 3.4 seconds back. I don't think there's anyone else really out here to try to contend. Looking at drivers with fresher tires, possibly R.C. Enerson, but he's about 9 seconds back from Sweeting. So Chuck Sweeting, who pitted early, made possibly the better move to undercut the pit stop.
Yeah, looks like it might work out well for him.
We still a lot of racing. Like we said, about 20 laps to go when they cross the line, and then the question mark of will a caution come out? We still have our top 5. Jeff Green, Shane DiMantova, Vincent Isabella, Jared Dana, as well as Gerald Campbell. Still waiting for them to come into pit road. Don't think that they can make it all the way, but you've seen some wilder things before. But I think it might be too tough to try to save that much fuel. But Scott Crum tried something crazy last week. Who else is going to be trying something wild here this week?
If you would have told me last week's race could have been decided by a shot's glass worth for fuel, I would have never believed you. I would have said you're crazy, and then I saw it, and then everyone in the grandstands absolutely lost their mind after the finish.
Just never know. That was still, I am baffled on how close it got there at the end, but it literally was fuel in a shot glass of how much fuel could make it to the end. Looking at where drivers are at now, Sweeting still about 13.9 seconds back from our leader. Enerson is slowly chipping away on Chuck Sweeting. So just in case, our top 5 need to come to the pits, and it sounds like they are coming in, at least some of them. Possibly you might be hearing that the 68 could be thinking about coming in the pits here shortly, and also just trying to get out of the way of the drivers with fresher tires.
Yeah, 68 Jared Jones also got huge rear aero damage on that truck.
Jeff Sweeting's able to get by Gerald Campbell, now 12.6 seconds back. This is just a waiting game at this point. This has been a crazy one. Chuck Sweeting right now, looking at his last lap to the leader's last lap, a little bit less than a second and a half is the difference between those two drivers, and that's certainly a lot of time. And looking what time's left, if it continues at that pace, Chuck Sweeting should be able to catch up to our leaders. And Ryan Lutz has passed RC Enerson. So Ryan Lutz, Matthew Weeks, they're working together. They are cruising, but they're still 19.1 seconds back.
That is a huge
Jeff Green in the
gap.
pits. Jeff Green in the pits, as well as Vincent Isabella, so leaving us with a total of 2 drivers in front of Chuck Sweeting, and that is now took the gap to less than 7 seconds for Sweeting. Shane DiMantova and the 68, they're doing their best to stay out as long as possible.
Yeah, I want to avoid hitting with a commentator's curse, but we can get no caution. It's going to be a mad dash with you guys pushing each other for these last 14 laps here.
Especially with just looking at where drivers lie right now. Looks like Lutz is about 7 seconds back from Chuck Sweeting, and looking at the times that they're putting down, Lutz is about almost a full second faster than 75.
Yeah, he is making ground here as he's going around the racetrack.
And still 15 laps to go in this race, about to be 14, so if it's about a second a lap, Ryan Lutz has enough time. He might get there with about 2 laps to spare, but just like that, Shane DiMantova has to come in as well as that of Gerald Campbell, leaving us with Chuck Sweeting leading this race, Dustin Dorr and Ryan Lutz, your top 3. The gap between Lutz and Sweeting is less than 6 seconds.
Yeah, Lutz makes a pass on Dustin Dorr, goes inside. It'd be interesting to see if these guys try and link up bumper to tail and see if they can work together, cut with their left air together and try and catch that leader of Chuck Sweeting.
Also another driver to watch out for, that's got to be Matthew Weeks if he's got a shot to possibly try to catch up with Lutz, but it looks like Lutz is on a mission. He is flying right now. Currently, that last lap, about 6/10, so it is dropped off dramatically about how much time was being gained for Lutz. It's coming up to possibly about 5 seconds once this lap is finished, but if it keeps on equaling out those tires, it is going to be a close one, but I think Ryan Lutz, he might come up about 2 seconds short.
I'm doing my napkin math here. I see the same thing. Chuck Sweeting, it's the only way they're going to be able to catch Sweeting. His tires fall off a little bit more if he gets some bobble at lap traffic. As both of these guys are pushing air all by themselves, there's only so much you can do relying on draft and tires. And they don't have the draft to work with.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that we were throwing out. Just enough time. Was there enough time? And it looks like Ryan Lutz pushed his luck just a little bit too far. Maybe he should have pitted a little bit sooner, and that's probably going to be something that we talk about once we get to interviews, was could Ryan Lutz have stayed out just a little bit less than what he did? Because we know he kept on pushing it further and further, but looks like that might have backfired.
Yeah, I think Lutz's only chance here is to try and catch that draft with the lap cars in front of him between him and Sweeting. If he can catch that draft and get stuck up there a little bit, kind of help out, that would be tremendous. But if he's stuck back there in no man's land, there's not a whole lot he can do with it.
Soon to come to 10 laps to go. Still gaining about 4 to 3/10 each lap is Ryan Lutz. He's got about him, looking at it, about 8 lap fresher tires than Sweeting is Ryan Lutz. He's been away for a couple of weeks, but once he came back, certainly was one of the top dogs to watch out for, and still is. Less than 4 seconds is the difference. But with 10 laps to go, he needs to gain about 4/10 a second, and he's not doing that. He is Actually, that last time by it was 5/10, so it's possible. It's just going to take a lot of work from the 36.
Yeah, I think right in front of Lutz, the 36, he's starting to catch up with a little bit of lap traffic. His best bet is to try and tuck in, use their draft for as long as he can, and then check out. Looks like, who's that, 42 with fresher tires, trying to get his lap back, which could make things not as easy for Lutz, or he can get a draft partner and follow the fresh tires out around.
Could try to use Isabella as kind of a spear, making a way, pushing cars out of the direction of where he wants to be, so can try to pull himself along, but it looks like the time might have stalled out. The lap traffic is slowing the 36 down, and yeah, but as I say that though, the timing has really changed. Sweeting did not get the best launch out of 4,
yeah,
and the difference now is almost less than 3.
Yeah, so about a half second difference in their last lap. Sweet with a 33.67, Lutz with a 32.57 or so. So they're still, he's getting anywhere between 3 to 5 tenths a lap. 7 to go though, with over a 3-second gap. Not sure if he's gonna have anything for him.
Some other battles that are going on. Isabella able to pass that of Harrison Talon for 16th. Talon on the much older tires is Isabella, but caution now flies.
Oh.
And it changes everything.
Right in front of Sweeting too. Looks like lap traffic kind of got loose and threw it down to the apron. This is about to get shaken up, my friend.
Ooh, looks like Austin Beer as well as Zach Adams. Zach Evans, excuse me. They were side by side. They caught up to the lap traffic of the 9, and kind of a panic move by Zach to move up. And contact was made, and that's the one thing with lap traffic. It can cause great battles to become very scary and chaotic in front of them.
Yeah, I think this is going to be very interesting. We're going to restart with what, 3 to go, maybe?
Oh my god, Hank Steinmiller might have just... Hank Steinmiller under pacing blew his engine.
Oh, Hank.
I don't know what happened to the 63, but he was running up in the top 5. He was running in 6th, excuse me. And his engine just blew coming into turn 3 and 4. Looks like he might have shifted down. I think he shifted down too early and it blew his engine. Sometimes people just feel, secure in the ways that they'll just shift down and they'll think, hey, I think I'm slow enough. But nope, was not able to. Everyone comes in the pits, though. James, it's time for some close racing action. Could be a inside regulation green-white checkered, which is going to cause some drama. Fresh tires means slipping and sliding, and the potential of someone getting extremely loose out of these corners.
Oh, Sam, this is going to be an absolute bloodbath out here on the restart. These guys got 5 laps to go. Everybody's got nice, fresh, loose tires, as little as fuel as they can possibly run. So there's going to be some slipping, some sliding, some door hitting, and at least 3 trucks in the wall by the end of this. I'm calling it now.
Well, in officials here at Atlanta, the worst nightmare has happened. That is when you come into what could be a green-white checkered situation, and the driver that's leading the race did not pit with you. Shane Mantova going to be staying out 10-lap-old tires. We'll see if the 20 machine with those older tires can somehow hold on. And most likely this is just a net gain type of a move, knowing that this isn't a race-winning move, but at least getting better in more positions than just coming into the pits and hoping that you can get by everyone else.
Yeah, he's only got backwards to go from here instead of coming in the same cycle, being 10th, 15th or so, and then having to work his way up. He's banking on losing less positions than he would gaining positions.
Yeah, it is. Oh man, this is terrifying. You got drivers on the new slick tires that need heat to get in them, and then you've got older tires that could possibly wheel spin on this restart. Calamity, we're waiting for it. We know it's going to happen. If you have a late yellow like this, there's no way that they're going to make it all the way to the end. We've seen some great saves, great battling tonight. But the gloves are off. It's no longer trying to help the other drivers around you. It is time to get up front and win a race.
Yeah, absolutely sponsored by how many good saves we've seen tonight as cars or trucks break loose. And you see the guys going through these corners at 150 at a 45-degree angle. So absolutely amazing all the car control we've seen today.
Yeah, it has been absolutely incredible. I know for a lot of these drivers, they're probably going to record this whole entire session, go through, find a montage of all the times that there were great saves because there are too many to count. I mean, I know the first one we think of is Ryan Lutz and Chad Frankenfield. When they got into one another, they both, in sequence, lost it and saved it and kept on moving forward. Incredible to see. And now it's the question of who's going to survive here at the end. Do want to give a big thanks to all of our amazing sponsors. Tulsum, thank you for being on. If you need foundation on having the best human resources out there, Tulsum, look them up. They are the best for you. Also want to give a big thanks to Richmar Flores as well as C2 Freight's Resources and Old Testament Firearms for all the amazing sponsors that allow us to put on this great show here in front of you. It has been incredible. And now we get to see who's going to be alive and who's going to survive at the end of today. It is going to be a wild one. James, you know, we didn't really pick who we thought was going to win at the start, but let's make it now. Who do you got?
All right, I'm going to pull one, go for the wild card here. I'm going to go for Matthew Weeks, number 14 truck, currently sitting in 4th on the restart. I feel like he's got the pace. I think he's just got to survive, tuck in, and make something happen at the very end here. So that's my pick tonight, Matthew Weeks.
Oh, you gave me the free open safe pick. I'm going to go with the safe one for sure. I'm going to go with Chuck Sweeting. But if I had to pick an underdog, dark horse, maybe, just maybe, he's going to be in that second row, same next to your guy, Ryan Lutz. He's someone who could also make some great moves here. But honestly, I think if you're in that second to third row, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be between Diamantova or Sweeting.
We've got Weeks on the outside, Lutz on his inside. Lutz definitely, I think, in the better position here. He's got to survive and hopefully not run over the 20 car. Shane Diamantova, please go green for hopefully the final time here.
It's inside regulations, green, white, checkered. We are green. Next flag, the white. If we can get to it, Ryan Lutz going to be moving Sweeting up and absolutely deking that 75 truck out of the way. They're going to be going
3 wide. 75 gets loose.
They saved it. No, he doesn't. There goes Sweeting. Ryan Lutz ahead. And we stay green. We'll see. Sweeting, he's going to be staying low. We still stay green. Ryan Lutz continues to pull away. We wait for the white flag. Matthew Weeks, he's following suit. Here comes your guy. He's on the inside. He ducks it low. He ducks it high. Here comes Matthew Weeks. He's got to choose decisively here through 1 and 2.
Doing everything he can to make the spot of Ryan Lutz. Both guys have been running clean all night. Lutz has kind of been the fan favorite. He's been a hard charger for sure for the night. Matthew Weeks trying to make every position he can work. He gets right on the bumper trying to make something happen as Lutz makes that truck very, very wide.
Tulsum 175.
Oh, no!
It's a bump! It wasn't just a bump and run. He got him out. Matthew Weeks, he gets through. He shoves Lutz out of the way and is going to win here at Atlanta.
What carnage! Lutz, oh my.
They continue to wreck around.
Weeks with the bump and run at the very end. Oh, we lost a lot of good men out there. Let's see if we can get that replay for the move of the day, I would say.
Oh my goodness. Ryan Lutz. And there's a lot of controversy out of this one as they're flying through entering turns 1 and 2. This is when they had to really make that decision, right, of where they wanted to place themselves. But man,
Take it back over here. We've got Weeks in the 14, Lutz in the 36. Weeks doing everything he can to try and get that track position. Lutz makes that truck super, super wide while Weeks tries to make something happen. And just like that, just enough on that back right fender to spin him a little wild. And Weeks brings it home while carnage unfolds behind him.
And there is a lot of controversy around this one just because Ryan Lutz, he is known for the short tracks and making moves to make wins, and he's not happy about that type of a move to get the win there. But Matthew Weeks, I mean, a lot of drivers are coming up saying, hey, you've done it to us before. It's kind of time for you to get your own. But man, Matthew Weeks, what a run for himself and the rest of the field. What a great run for themselves. Ryan Lutz fell back to 4th place, but Whew, that
All
was a
is
wild
fair
one.
in love, war, and racing.
For sure. As we'll
Oh,
take a look here at our unofficial final results. James, this was a wild one for these guys. Matthew Weeks able to get the win. RC Enerson, second place. Shane Dimantova, Ryan Lutz, Tate Lytle, Chet Frankenfield. What a recovery for him. And same for Jeff Green. Both of them involved in some crazy wrecks early on. Alexander Van Zandt going to be getting 8th place. David Westergreen able to make a charge into the top 10. Great for the two. Dustin Dewar, he had a little bit of a scuffle right before that last caution. Now going to be putting himself in the top 10.
yeah, top 11th or 20th, we've got Zach Evans, Vincent Isabella, Jared Doan, Christopher Smelter, Harrison Talon, Alec Balvins, Cooper Johnson, Mark Keeler, Chuck Sweeting, not having a great race tonight, finishing 19th. Austin Beers bringing it home in 20th.
And then our top 30, it's going to be It's going to be Michael Goodman, Blake Barney, both of them able to stay in at least one lap down. Everyone else, they struggled. It was a rough day for everyone else. Kendall Noah player, Hank Steinmiller blew up. Gerald Campbell, Ryan Barbary, Brian Onson, as well as Tyler Dixon, Brody Moore, McCurl, as well as Sickles. It's just everyone else from here on out. They wrecked out and they were hoping for better days. And they've only got one more race to figure out where they're going to be placed going into the playoffs. That next race, it's a great place to get revenge if Ryan Lutz wants to get it on Matthew Weeks. We're going to Nashville Fairgrounds, short track racing once again.
If you thought Darlington was a bloodbath, this is going to be absolutely spectacular for all of our viewers at home.
And before we get to all that racing action, it's time to talk to some of our racing contenders and where they were. We got a third and second place. We'll wait for Weeks to get up here as well, but as we wait for Weeks, we'll talk to third place finisher. This is Shane Dimantova. Shane, it's Sam and James up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
I mean, you had one of the biggest ups and down races. It seemed like you fell back into the middle of the pack, found your way back up into the top 3. You made the gutsy call there to stay out. Was it because you were in the middle of the pack that you thought, hey, why not try something different?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't made much of the races this year. I've been honestly quite busy, but we just pitted probably like 5 or 6 laps before this, and I knew like it was just our time, obviously, like you guys said. Kind of just a gutsy call and figured why not go for it and resulted in a P3 finish. Obviously, I'd like to finish 2 spots ahead, but we'll definitely take it for sure.
Now, Shane, as everybody comes out on fresh tires here, how are you able to keep the truck underneath you while so many other people were having that loose snap coming out of the turns 2 and 3, 2 and 4 looked like the hard part for everybody?
Yeah, I mean, just send it. I know me and Michael Goodman, we joke around about that, just sending the truck and sending our cars, but that's basically what I did out there and kind of just made it, like, tried to make it stick out there, and whatever happens, happens. And I know coming out of 2 on that final restart, Chuck Sweeney went to go past me on the outside, and I don't know if he thought I didn't give him any room, but he had plenty of enough room. I looked at it after, and he just got loose. But yeah, we just pushed as hard as we can on that final restart. I knew we were going to be a little bit slower, but made it stick and brought it home third.
Shane, I mean, this is probably one of the better runs that I've seen you have in a while. How was it finally being able to run up front in the top 5 for a bit of this race?
Yeah, it felt really, really good, honestly. Couldn't be more proud of our team. And finishing P2, getting past Lutzy and RC there in the final laps of the second stage, that was pretty awesome. Because knowing that those are one of the better guys in the series, and shout out to Vincent, my teammate and co-owner of ID Racing, on getting the stage win there. I know everybody else in the team didn't have as quite as good of nights, but yeah, it was a great race for me.
Well, Shane, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, definitely thank everybody over at ID Racing, Days Gone By, Vince's Racing Apparel. You guys, obviously, for broadcasting this, and my family, my friends, and just Chad, obviously, for putting on the league. And it was a fun time tonight. Good racing with everybody.
Well, congratulations on a podium finish, and good luck next week at Nashville.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate it.
Shane had a great run for himself. The man came up second and ran the high side for a while there. RC Enerson, what a run that he had. RC, it's Sam and James up in the booth. You got us?
Sure do.
RC, you were running the high line more than anyone else. What were you finding up there?
I didn't get much time to practice, so it's I was running the 12-to-1 steering rack. I wasn't running the 14-to-1, so it was definitely going to be a bit loose, and I just felt more comfortable up there. With like I wasn't getting the rear to step out. I wasn't chewing up the tires as much as I would if I was running the bottom. So I think if I would have done a little bit more practice, I think I would have been down there with those guys. But I mean, it seemed to work out. I was able to save some tires and at least hang with them.
And RC, speaking about saving tires around that high line, how do you think your tires developed longer in the runs, especially in that stage 3 compared to everybody else? It looked like you were saving more tires, but did it feel better towards the long run, or were you just kind of loose like everyone else was?
Yeah, actually, a couple people are complaining of being tight. Like when you lift on the entry, it closes the diff and the thing understeers and it doesn't start oversteering until you touch power. So I'm never actually off of the throttle up top. So it's just constant. I've never had any understeer at all. And I definitely was starting to lose them around lap 10 to 15. But then the second we hit like like high 20s in the stage, I started to like reel them in a little bit more.
Yeah, it's crazy how much iRacing has made it to where the evolution of the racing surface. It's always fun to watch. RC, you were there. You had a chance to possibly make some moves late in that final green-white checkered in a way. What were some of your thoughts going into it?
I knew that everybody was going to be pretty loose, so I didn't fuel the car. So I was out there with like nine gallons of fuel, and it tightens the truck up a bit. So I definitely was rocking the understeer. So I saw Chuck spin in front of me because I think he might have been full of fuel. So definitely did a few tips and tricks, and then just never lift.
Well, RC, a great run for yourself. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, just thank you guys up here in the booth. I love going back and watching these things over again and fast forwarding through them and seeing the interviews and stuff like that. And then Luke So School Racing, obviously it's on all of my cars, and then Chad as well for putting on an awesome league. So hopefully I'll see. I think I'll be here tomorrow night, but I'll be missing the next week. I'll be up in Indy.
Well, hopefully you can make it for tomorrow night, and good luck at Indy.
Bye, guys.
And then the man who had to make the bold move of absolutely shoving the odds-on favorite out of the way, it's going to be this of Matthew Weeks. Matthew, it's Sam and James up the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you saw green-white checkered. You're running second row. What was going through your mind setting up for that green-white checkered?
To win the race, because I wanted to win back because I know next week is going to be horrible. I just wanted to for sure lock myself into the chase, be a contender, you know.
Now, Matthew, speaking of that, going into next week, it's going to be short track racing. We're going to see more of the same, more bumping and runs, a little bit more tempers going into next week. Do you think things are going to play out nicely, or do you think some people are going to be coming for revenge next week?
He'll probably come for revenge, but beyond, I owed him that he's wrecked me out of a couple of races, so I owed him that one.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew, you had the pace during practice. You didn't get the best qualifying run that you wanted, but certainly the race ending you wanted for sure. How was it trying to handle this car throughout the different evolutions of the 25-lap shootouts for stage 1 and 2 into the longer distance into green flag pit stops that was at the end of this race?
The shorter runs were kind of fun. I mean, everyone was racing hard, knowing it wasn't a super long, but the truck was loose. So once it get about 15 laps on the tires, man, it was so loose on exit. And then that last stage, I know from the second stage, I felt like I was a faster car in the long run. So I knew coming to that final stage, I was going to be a contender at the end. And then after we pitted, I just killed the right rear. So I'm kind of glad that caution did come out.
It certainly set you up for a victory. You made a very gutsy move getting Lutz out of the way, but before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
To the Pro Edge guys, let me run this truck series for them, and Ryan for sponsoring the truck. Man, I hate to move him like that, but it's a win, and I've been done that multiple times by him, so I just wanted to get in. And all my friends and family I've watched, I mean, big support. And you guys up in the booth, man, I can't wait to watch and see what it was like.
It certainly was wild up at the booth. We were getting crazy, but congratulations on the win, and also good luck on trying to survive next week.
All right, man. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
And that's going to be Matthew Weeks winning this thing. And James, That's it. Atlanta is done. The Tulsa 175 comes to a close. Dramatic way to end it, but what were some of your final thoughts?
We lost a lot of good men out there, Sam. I mean, coming from Darlington to Atlanta, where the wrecks didn't disappoint, and then going into short track racing next week, it's just nothing but good racing. It's exciting from start to checker here. So looking forward to see what else these drivers have for us, and it's always entertaining no matter what.
It is going to be a blast. Like you said, there's been carnage at Darlington, carnage here today. And guess what? We're going to Nashville, short track racing, where it is extremely loose, and the drivers are going to have to deal with that sensation. And also, there could be some payback from earlier in the season. Can't wait for it. It's going to be a blast. James, like always, thank you for being up in the booth with me and running controls.
Yeah, no worries. We'll see everybody next week. I appreciate everybody watching from home. My name's James East. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight.
An absolute blast. Can't wait for next week. More of the Elite Racing Network action throughout the week, every single day, almost this week. Can't wait to see it. More racing action, as it is going to be the SMRI Productions B series tomorrow. Can't wait for it. Exciting racing to go on throughout the week, even cup racing. Y'all have a